Welcome back to Acrylics 101 Basics for Beginners. Today's lesson is number 7. Today we're going to explore the bias of paint. We use terms cool and warm, and what does that mean? How does that impact the colors you're trying to create? Let's grab your painting tools and get started. So this is what our final worksheet is going to look like. We're going to start with CAD yellow light, CAD yellow medium, CAD red medium, alizarin crimson hue permanent, ultramarine blue, and cerulean blue. And we're going to take each one of these and mix them, and we're going to create secondary colors with them. This will show us how each red and each yellow will work together to create orange, or how each yellow and each blue will get to come together to create those greens. And you can see how different the greens are. Now I've moved this along pretty quickly, so we're just going to move along as we're making our purples with our reds and our blues. And we're going to take that information and move it onto the sheet. The handouts are, the link is in below. And we're going to start with CAD yellow light. And there's a specific reason I've put CAD yellow light here on what side I've put it on. And you'll find out in a minute. CAD yellow medium. Now we're going to add CAD red medium. And then alizarin crimson hue permanent. I'm going to lift that up so that the words are not in the way. And you can see the blue in that red, can't you? You can see that it has more purple. And then ultramarine blue and cerulean. Before the paint has a chance to dry, we're going to fill in this worksheet with the pure color and the mixtures that we have created. Later in this video, we will look at each of these color mixtures with more depth. If you need to slow this down, you can, and you can see if you've made a mistake and put it in the wrong place, that you can just paint over it. That's the nice part about acrylic. So let's look at what bias means. So we have CAD yellow light, and there's a hint of green in there. So I call that a cool color. Where the CAD yellow medium, you can see, has more red in it. It has a little hint of orange in it, so it's warm. CAD red medium has a hint of that yellow in it, so it's warm. And alizarin crimson, you can see the blue, and so we would call that cool, and it's leaning towards the ultramarine blue, which has a little bit of red in it. Cerulean has a little bit of the green, so we would call that warm. So we're going to look at the bias. So the cadmium yellow medium and the CAD red medium have the similar bias. So they're going to create a more chromatic color, a more saturated orange. And the same with alizarin and ultramarine blue. They're going to create a more saturated purple, a more clear purple, a more chromatic purple. So now we're going to check out the bias and how it impacts when we're mixing colors. So CAD yellow light and CAD red medium. CAD yellow light has a bit of that blue in it, that green, and so it's a chromatic orange, but not as chromatic as this one is with the CAD yellow medium and the CAD red medium. And you can see that it's a much more saturated color. Now when we get into the alizarins, you can see that again they're less chromatic oranges, and you can see that we're not getting anywhere near CAD orange if you just bought a tube of paint of CAD orange. So each of the biases makes an impact. The alizarin has a lot of blue in it, so the orange is not going to be as bright or as clear as the two colors that have the similar bias of having a little bit of red in the yellow and a little bit of yellow in the red. Now we're going to move down and we're going to talk about the cad yellow light and the cerulean. And I realized I hadn't gone and sort of done this on the side here, where I'm going to show you that the bias that they have is they're leaning towards each other. They each have a little bit of green, a little bit of the cerulean has a little yellow, and the yellow has a little bit of the blue, and that is the most chromatic green that you can make. And you can see how chromatic it is, how bright it is. It's very saturated, but you add a little bit of orange with that in that cad yellow medium, and look at the difference of the green that is created. So knowing which yellow and which blue to use to create the green you're looking for is really important, and understanding the bias of each of those color of the tubes of paint that you're working with will help you be more successful. So if you're looking for a low chroma green, ultramarine blue, and cad yellow medium, look at that sumptuous green. It's not the same as the cad yellow light and cerulean green, but it is quite lovely and is quite usable in many ways. So there we are with our 4 different greens. Now let's look at the purples. So one of the things we have to remember is the ultramarine blue and the alizarin crimson hue have a similar bias, and that is going to be the most chromatic purple. You'll notice that I have little, I had to add white because the mass tone is so dark you can't actually see the purple because it's very dark. Those 2 colors create a very saturated and the nicest purple if you're looking for a brighter purple. Now alizarin with cerulean that has some of that green in it, you can see that the purple has been muted down. The value is very dark, so it's hard to see. Now, when you see this in person, you will notice it even more. Cad red medium and cerulean is not going to create a very blue purple color. And it's a beautiful color, and it may be the perfect color. So knowing what these 2 paint tubes will create together will be very helpful. So cad red medium and ultramarine blue, you can see it's a more blue purple because the ultramarine blue has some red in it, and you can see that it's more grayed out. To receive the handout for each of the lessons, head on over to my website, dancingravenstudio.ca. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next art video.